After divorcing my scumbag husband, I found true love. I opened a bridal shop. My husband brought another woman to try on wedding dresses in the store. They flirted and joked in front of me, hugging and kissing. The clerk nearby praised them as a perfect match. On the surface, I remained calm, but inside, my heart was bleeding. The last time, I leaned close to his ear and whispered, "Let's get a divorce." Unexpectedly, he was deeply affectionate and gentle with me. I shook him off. "Sorry, I don't love you anymore." After saying that, I took another man's hand. The afternoon sun was warm and lazy. As usual, I stayed in the bridal shop to help out. The door opened, and a young couple walked in. Habitually, I said, "Hello, welcome to First Sight Bridal." I looked up, and a familiar face suddenly came into view. Our eyes met, and he wore an indifferent expression. The man was dressed in a suit, his figure commanding, exuding an innate nobility. This man was my husband. But at this moment, standing beside him was another woman, stylishly dressed. I was stunned instantly, my heart pierced mercilessly as if by a needle. The shop assistant approached warmly to serve us. I watched coldly as my husband helped the woman with her bag, wrapping an arm around her as they picked out wedding dresses together. Their faces were full of sweetness, as if I were the outsider. They selected several outfits, planning to take a set of wedding photos in the store. The shop was short-staffed, so I had no choice but to step forward and help. The photographer directed, "Could you two get a little closer, a bit more intimate?" He glanced at me, then smiled as he wrapped his arms around the woman from behind. For the next pose, he kissed her directly on the lips. After the photo shoot, the woman bashfully pounded his chest, while he tightly held her hand, refusing to let go. The two of them openly flaunted their love in front of us. The shop assistant praised them, "Sir and Miss, you truly are a perfect match, a talented man and a beautiful woman." Bitterness crept up in my heart, my eyes grew hot, and tears fell. When we got married, we didn't even take wedding photos. Now, I had to watch him take wedding photos with another woman. It was truly laughable. But all of this was my own doing. A year ago, Lucas only married me under his mother's pressure. My mom and Lucas's mom came from the same village. Back then, they came to the big city to work together and shared a bond forged through hardship. Shortly after I was born, the two mothers agreed that Lucas would marry me in the future. But later, the two families' paths diverged. My parents ran a wedding dress shop, while Lucas's parents opened a restaurant. Their restaurant business grew bigger and bigger, expanding into many chain stores nationwide and successfully going public. Our two families gradually lost contact. Later, my parents died in a car accident. Lucas's mother found me and, recalling the old agreement, she forced Lucas to marry me. Lucas asked me, "Have you thought it through? Do you really want to marry me?" I nodded. On the wedding day, after seeing off all the guests, Lucas threw me into a room and drank alone in the living room. When I stepped out, he looked up and stared at me coldly. "From now on, this house is yours. I rarely stay here." In the days that followed, just as he said, the times we met were few and far between. When he came back occasionally, I always smelled a woman's perfume on him. I was cooking dinner for him in the kitchen. He came close and asked, "When do you plan to get a divorce?" My hand trembled as I cut the meat, but I forced myself to stay calm. "Is that what you want, to get a divorce?" He frowned impatiently. "You know, I married you just to show my mom." Suddenly, I came to my senses. He really didn't have a shred of feeling for me. He must have long forgotten about that incident when we were 15. I never told him that I had liked him since then. Since we met at the bridal shop, he hadn't come home for a long time. The next time I saw him was one evening, half a month later. When he walked in, I was in the living room handling a client's wedding photos. I was so absorbed in my work that I didn't notice him come in. He threw his coat on the sofa, and only then did I realize he was back. Neither of us spoke, we just looked at each other in silence. I ignored him and kept my head down, busy with my work. He took 2 bottles of soda from the fridge and handed me one. As he came closer, I caught that sharp scent of his cologne again. "Thanks," I said, taking the soda and placing it on the table without drinking. He leaned back on the sofa. "I have a business trip in the next few days." I nodded. "Got it. Don't you have anything to say?" He looked at me. I recalled the scene from the wedding photo shoot that day and swallowed the words I wanted to say once again. "It's getting late, go to bed early." After saying that, I got up and went straight to my room. The door wasn't fully closed, and I heard laughter coming from the living room. He was on the phone with someone. Was it that woman from the other day? It was rare to hear his hearty laugh. A strange ache settled in my heart. His smile never belonged to me. He slept in another room. The next morning, while preparing breakfast, I made an extra portion. He hesitated when he saw the meal but eventually sat down. The air was deathly silent. Perhaps feeling awkward, he tried to make conversation. "How's your wedding dress shop doing?" "Not bad, I'm not starving," I sneered. "Didn't you go see it the other day?" He was momentarily stunned, his expression a little embarrassed. After that, he said nothing, stuffing the egg into his mouth in one gulp before turning and leaving. I finished tidying up and left as well. At the street corner, a motorcycle suddenly brushed past me. I was knocked to the ground, my knee bleeding. The motorcyclist hurriedly took me to the hospital for dressing. Because the wheel had hit my calf, causing a slight fracture, the doctor advised me to rest. I posted on Facebook to inform my clients, "Had a little accident, resting for the next few days. If you need anything, please contact my assistant." I hadn't blocked Lucas, so he could see this Facebook post. I thought he would care, even if it was just a simple greeting. But for several days in a row, I didn't receive a single message from him. Not even a simple hello. I never expected to see him at the hospital. That day, I had my stitches removed and was able to get out of bed and walk. While handling the discharge procedures, I unexpectedly saw him in the lobby. There was another girl by his side, not the one I had seen before, but a different stranger I had never met. I didn't expect him to have changed so quickly again. The girl was clearly several years older than him, with short hair that was lively and playful. She linked her arm with Lucas's, snuggling close to him. Lucas saw me too, sizing me up and down. "Is your leg okay now?" I forced a smile. "It's fine now." The girl urged from the side, "Come on, our appointment time is up." He dropped me and followed the girl away. I watched them head toward the gynecology department. Could it be? I shook my head, warning myself to mind my own business and not make things harder for myself. Just then, a sharp pain shot through my leg. The wound wasn't fully healed yet. I found a quiet corner and sat down. Watching the people coming and going, they had family who cared for them, lovers by their side. And me? Thinking of this, a sharp ache welled up in my nose, and I fought hard to keep my tears from falling. After a long while, my thoughts settled. It was time to end this. My pain was born because of him, only by leaving him could I find happiness. He doesn't love me, let's end it all. When he came out, I walked up to him. Leaning close to his ear, I whispered, "Lucas, let's get a divorce." I took a taxi home. Soon after, he came back too. "Have you thought this through? Do you really agree to divorce me?" The moment he stepped inside, he raised his voice to question me. I smiled. "Haven't you been hoping for a divorce all along?" I went into the room to pack my things. Since we were divorced, I had no reason to stay here anymore. He came over and held my hand. "This house is yours. You don't have to move." I pulled my hand away. None of this ever belonged to me. With that, I started packing on my own. He stood there watching, no longer stopping me. "Leave tomorrow," he said, his voice pleading. Did I hear that wrong? He went to the kitchen, seemingly cooking noodles. As I was leaving, he said, "You just got out of the hospital today. Don't overdo it. Rest well." Then he added, "If you're going to leave, leave tomorrow." He placed a bowl of noodles on the table. "Eat it while it's hot." After all these years of marriage, this seemed like the first time he'd cooked for me. Was it because freedom was just around the corner? I sat down and took a bite. His cooking was decent, but at that moment, it tasted like dry cardboard to me. After finishing the noodles, I went back to my room and packed up the bottles and jars on the dressing table. Lucas walked in and placed a bank card in front of me. "There's 5 million on this, for you. If you need money later, you can come to me." I glanced at the card, then picked it up and handed it back to him. "No need, thank you." He looked displeased. "Why do you always have such a sour face?" I lifted my head and looked at him coldly, retorting, "Then what do you think I should do?" The anger on Lucas's face grew stronger. I kept staring at him, locking eyes. Finally, he threw the bank card onto the table in frustration and left my room. How ridiculous, my husband flirts around outside, then turns around and blames me for not giving him a pleasant face. I was eager to break free from all this and start a brand new life on my own. The next morning, we went to register our divorce. Because of the mandatory cooling-off period, the divorce certificate wouldn't be available for another month. Lucas drove me back, and I was getting ready to call the moving company to come and move my things. "Where are you planning to live?" "I'm going to live in the house my parents used to live in." "I'll help you move your stuff over there." After saying that, he picked up the suitcase at his feet and started walking out. I didn't stop him, silently dragging my suitcase behind him. Fortunately, I didn't have much stuff, and the trunk barely fit everything. He drove quietly the whole way, and I sat beside him in the passenger seat, feeling a bit out of place. I knew this seat didn't belong to me. Suddenly, a sad song came on from the speakers. As the melody played, memories from years ago flooded back. In the first year of middle school, Lucas's mother used her connections to get me into the prestigious school where Lucas studied. But none of the classmates liked me. They mocked me for wearing old clothes and carrying an old backpack. They all went to school in luxury cars, while I rode my dad's motorcycle. Yet, I always ranked first in the grade, which only made them dislike me more. The principal's daughter said I stole her spotlight and led the others to isolate me. While I was in the bathroom, they threw my textbooks and backpack into the trash can. The worst was one noon when they threw small stones at me on the playground. I was backed into a corner, almost about to be slapped by them. It was at that moment that Lucas appeared just in time to stop them. "What are you doing? Get lost right now." Lucas's presence intimidated them, and the group scattered and stepped back. But one boy stepped forward to Lucas, sneering, You think you can scare me?" Lucas said nothing and punched the other guy right in the face. That group finally got scared and quickly ran away. I walked over and said to him, "Thank you." But Lucas didn't respond, he just kept walking forward without looking back. That afternoon, I was retaliated against. During swimming class, a classmate pushed me into the pool. At that time, I still couldn't swim and struggled desperately in the water. Lucas was the first to jump in and pull me out. I was so frightened my face turned pale. Lucas whispered comforting words in my ear, "Don't be afraid, it's okay now." His voice was gentle yet strong, like afternoon sunlight breaking through the gloom in my heart. It was at that moment that I began to like him. But afterward, Lucas remained cold toward me. Later, his parents moved to Beijing for work, and he transferred to a school there as well. Years later, when I saw him again, he had become my husband, yet I felt no love from him at all. He didn't hesitate to use other women to force me to divorce, so there was no need for me to keep forcing it either. The car stopped in front of an old residential building, and my thoughts were pulled back to reality. The apartment was on the 5th floor, with no elevator. Lucas helped me carry several large boxes upstairs, a few strands of hair on his forehead damp with sweat. I handed him a tissue and said to him one last time, "Thank you, Lucas." He looked at me, as if wanting to say something but holding back. In the end, he said nothing and left. In the days that followed, I poured all my energy into my bridal shop, no longer thinking about Lucas. The pain this relationship had brought me gradually began to fade. For a long time afterward, Lucas no longer appeared in my world. This was the best outcome. No matter what emotional entanglements we had before, now he was a stranger unrelated to me. The photographer at the shop had to return to his hometown for some matters and recommended another young photographer, Evan. Evan had just graduated from university this year, had loved photography since childhood, and already had several years of experience. I had seen his photography work, he was a good photographer, so I let him stay. "Boss, let me take a photo of you." Evan picked up the camera and smiled at me. Before I could react, he had already taken a picture of me. He handed the camera to me. "Looks pretty good, I'll send it to you later." Looking at the photo he took of me, I realized I wasn't in a very good state. It seemed I needed to adjust my mindset and work hard to make myself happy. That evening, Evan sent me a photo. "Can I take a picture of you every day from now on?" I hesitated for a moment. "I'm not paying, you know." He replied, "No worries, the boss pays my salary anyway." I said, "I'm about 4 or 5 years older than you, just call me Sister Jasmine." Evan quickly responded, "All right, Sister Jasmine." A few days later, one afternoon, I went to a nearby restaurant for lunch with the staff. After we finished eating, Evan insisted on paying. "Ladies, give this little brother a chance. Lunch is on me today." With that, he dashed off to settle the bill. The staff looked at me, a smile playing on their lips. Their gaze made me uneasy all over. "What are you all staring at? Is there something on my face?" One of the staff grinned mischievously. "We've all figured it out." "Figured out what?" The clerk winked at me. "Don't play dumb, we all saw it. That photographer guy likes you." I was a bit annoyed. "Don't make things up, that's not true." Another clerk chimed in. "Stop denying it. That guy is pretty handsome." "Boss, don't you fancy him?" I'm focused on work right now, not interested in anything else." "I heard that guy is the school heartthrob, lots of people used to chase after him back in school. Haven't you thought about it?" Just then, Lucas suddenly walked up from behind me. I froze. How did I run into him here? Could it be that he was sitting right behind me all along? Did he hear everything we said? Lucas took a few steps forward, then glanced back at me. The clerks recognized him. "Boss, isn't that the handsome guy who took wedding photos in our shop before?" I suddenly felt a bit awkward and turned my face away. But then I thought to myself, we have nothing to do with each other anymore. We're even more like strangers than strangers. So why should I feel awkward? When I looked up to see him again, he was already gone. On the weekend, Evan invited me to a countryside estate for a photo shoot. He's a very thoughtful guy, having prepared snacks and sunscreen for me in advance. Sitting in the car, I found myself stealing a few more glances at him and realized he really was bright and cheerful. He seemed to notice me looking, and said, "Jasmine, what are you looking at?" Nothing. For some reason, I suddenly felt a bit nervous. He handed me a bottle of mineral water. "What's wrong? Not having fun hanging out with me?" "No, of course I'm having fun." I opened the bottle and took a sip, trying to hide my flustered feelings. He stuffed another candy into my hand. "Here, have some candy. Eating it will make you happy." I ate the candy. It was sweet, and a trace of warmth blossomed in my heart. I turned my head toward the window and said casually, "Evan, they say you like me. Is that true?" Who told you that?" Evan's voice was clearly flustered, as if a secret had been uncovered. I turned back to look into his eyes and said, "You don't need to care who said it. Just answer me, yes or no." He suddenly leaned closer, his eyes full of deep affection. Yes, Sister Jasmine, I like you. Today he was wearing a white shirt, giving off a pure, youthful vibe. I lowered my head and realized my face was burning. Finally, I composed myself and said to him seriously, I'm sorry, I just got out of a relationship and can't accept you for now. Evan gently took my hand. It's okay, I'll wait for you. Since Evan confessed to me, I suddenly became hesitant. I admit I have feelings for him, but I'm afraid we won't make it to the end, just like my last relationship. Every day, I throw myself into work, trying hard not to think about it. One day, I received a job to decorate the venue for a certain evening event. I went to the site with the store staff and discovered the venue was on the 8th floor of a restaurant, which happened to be owned by Lucas. Jasmine, what's wrong? Evan noticed my expression and showed concern. I forced a smile at him. I'm fine, let's get to work. I adjusted my mindset. This was just one of Lucas's many restaurants, and I wasn't necessarily going to run into him here. The restaurant manager came over and briefed me on some important details. After making sure everything was clear, I began setting up the venue. At that moment, my phone rang. It was the florist letting me know the flowers I ordered had arrived. I went to the restaurant's entrance to pick them up, and when I turned around, I saw Lucas not far away. I froze for half a second, my mind completely blank. Why did I have to run into him now? 2 security guards nearby greeted him. I stood there awkwardly, and he saw me too. Jasmine, what are you doing here? The manager came over to explain to Lucas, this young lady is here to set up the event for us. Lucas nodded and then walked inside. I thought he had gone to take care of his own business, but unexpectedly, he went straight to the 8th floor to oversee our setup. When I arrived on the 8th floor carrying a large bag of fresh flowers and saw him standing there, I suddenly felt a bit uneasy. Evan quickly came over, concerned. Jasmine, what's wrong? You don't look well. I shook my head. It's nothing. Lucas nearby focused his attention on the two of us. I hurriedly moved out of his line of sight and walked elsewhere. Evan followed behind me, helping carry the flowers. I hung the flowers on the wall, and as I came down the ladder, I accidentally twisted my ankle and fell to the ground. Evan immediately dropped what he was holding and came to help me. Lucas also appeared beside me, his expression tense. Are you okay? Do you need to go to the hospital? I shook my head. I'm fine, I'll just sit down and rest for a bit. Lucas left for a moment and returned holding a cup of hot water. Here, drink some water. I took the water and quietly said, thank you. I thought he was about to leave, but unexpectedly, he took over my work and helped me set up the scene. When Evan saw I was okay, he went over to help Lucas with the tasks. I watched Lucas busy at work and suddenly fell into deep thought. It seemed he noticed my gaze because he turned to look my way, our eyes meeting. I quickly looked away and lowered my head to drink water. He put down what he was doing and came over to ask me, how's your foot? Feeling better? Holding my cup, I told him, you don't need to worry about me, go focus on your own work. He ignored my words and went back to setting up the scene. They finished the remaining work smoothly. Lucas loudly said, thanks for all your hard work, everyone. The others quickly replied, not hard at all, not hard at all, we should be thanking you for coming to help. I walked over to Lucas and said to him earnestly, thank you for today. Evan came over to support me, saying, take it slow, watch your step. Lucas watched from the side, and I felt a bit embarrassed, quickly telling Evan, I'm really fine, you don't need to worry about me. Evan helped me back to rest. Suddenly, Lucas suggested, it's about dinner time anyway. Why don't you have dinner at my restaurant before you leave? The staff looked a bit excited. Really? Is that okay? Lucas nodded, of course. I'll go prepare a private room for you now. Evan politely declined, no need to trouble you. Lucas patted his shoulder, no need to be so formal with me. With that, he went straight downstairs. Evan looked at me, seeking my opinion. Leaving now wasn't right, but staying wasn't either. It seemed we had no choice but to stay for dinner. Since the boss is so kind, we shouldn't be polite with him either. I led the others and went to the private room together. The private room in the restaurant was designed in a traditional Chinese style, very tasteful. The few of us sat around the large round table. Soon after, the dishes arrived. Lucas was guiding the waiter from the side, "Put this dish here." It was my favorite sweet and sour pork, and Lucas had specially instructed them to place it in front of me. All the dishes were served, but Lucas showed no intention of leaving. He directly took the seat of honor, clearly planning to dine with us. Everyone suddenly felt a bit restrained, not daring to speak. I also felt a little awkward. Lucas was the first to break the silence. "Don't be shy, everyone, dig in." Hearing Lucas say this, everyone finally picked up their chopsticks and started eating. Evan ladled a bowl of rib soup for me and placed it by my hand. "Have some soup to nourish yourself." Lucas suddenly asked Evan, "Hey, young man, are you new here recently?" Evan nodded, "Yes, I just started working at Jasmine's shop this month." Lucas then asked, "What position do you hold there?" Evan smiled and said, "I'm the photographer, responsible for all the photography work in the shop." A staff member nearby added, "Boss, don't be fooled by his youth, his skills are excellent. He makes Jasmine look absolutely beautiful." The atmosphere grew a bit awkward. I quickly changed the subject, "This braised pork is really good, you all should try it." When I turned to look at Lucas, I noticed he hadn't eaten much. He held his bowl in his hand, but his gaze was fixed on Evan the whole time. Afraid that others might notice, I stood up and said to everyone, "Let's raise a glass to the boss and thank him for his generous hospitality tonight." Hearing me say that, the others also stood up one after another, raising their glasses. "Thanks for the hospitality, a toast to you." Lucas also stood up from his chair, holding his glass and said, "Thank you all for gracing us with your presence." We finished eating and were about to leave. I had a bit to drink and felt a little dizzy. Evan insisted on seeing me home. Just as we were calling a car, Lucas came out of the restaurant and walked straight to the BMW in front. Lucas drove the car over beside me, rolled down the window, and said, "Let me take you home." I refused him, "No need, we'll take a taxi back." Lucas was firm, "Get in, I'll take you home." Evan stood in front of me, "No need to trouble the boss, I'll take her home." Saying that, he took my hand and started to walk out. Just then, the car I had called arrived, and we got in and left. I glanced back and saw Lucas's car heading in my direction as well. When we reached my doorstep, I was about to get out. Evan opened the door for me and softly said, "Good night." His eyes sparkled like stars, utterly captivating. I smiled and nodded at him. Watching him get back into his car and drive away, I finally turned to head upstairs. It seemed I had finally moved on from that painful past and was ready to embrace a new life. "Jasmine." Lucas's voice suddenly came from behind me. I turned around, puzzled. "What are you doing here so late?" "I have something to tell you," he said, his tone much gentler. I asked, "What do you want to say?" He took a step closer, pleading softly, "Can we talk at your place?" I refused outright, "No." A flicker of sadness crossed his eyes. "Jasmine, I regret it. I regret divorcing you." In the stillness of the night, his words sounded especially harsh. I gave a bitter smile. What good does it do to say this now? He seemed to cling to a last shred of hope, grabbing my hand and asking, "Can we not get divorced? Can we cancel the divorce?" I shook off his hand, my gaze filled with disdain. "Sorry, I won't give you another chance." After saying this, I turned to go upstairs. "Jasmine, I was wrong." I stopped in my tracks. He continued, "I shouldn't have been so cold to you before. I was just sulking with my mom back then, that's why I neglected you. After you left me, I realized I had unknowingly fallen in love with you. Life without you has been truly painful. Jasmine, I really regret it." Why didn't I cherish you when you were by my side? Can you give me one more chance? Thinking back on the past, a wave of bitterness surged in my heart, and tears fell uncontrollably. I said with a choked voice, Lucas, it's all over. Let me go, and let yourself go too. He came over and held me tightly. Jasmine, I'm sorry, please forgive me, okay? I forcefully pried his hands away and shook my head repeatedly. Lucas, as you have so many women around you, why do you have to cling to me? After hearing my words, Lucas looked very flustered. He tried hard to explain, from beginning to end, you were the only woman for me. The one in the wedding photos was just my subordinate. And the one at the hospital is the daughter of my supplier. Jasmine, you have to believe me. I pushed him away, unwilling to listen any further. But he kept pleading behind me. I'm really a terrible person. I shouldn't have hurt you this way. I thought you married me for money, but now I realize I was completely wrong. The days after marrying you, looking back now, were so beautiful, yet I didn't know how to cherish you. I really deserve to die. I cut him off. Lucas, I don't love you anymore. With that, I took a step forward and headed straight upstairs. The next day at work, Evan noticed I wasn't in a good mood and said he'd go buy me some milk tea. The shop was quiet anyway, and I wanted to get some fresh air, so I went out with him. Unexpectedly, we hadn't gone far when someone suddenly blocked our way. It was Lucas. A flash of unwillingness crossed his eyes as he pointed at Evan and asked me, so the reason you refused to get back together with me is because of him? Seeing him making a fuss, I disdainfully ignored him. Evan, don't mind him, let's go. Lucas reached out to stop us. Evan stood in front of me, holding back his anger as he said, I don't know what happened between you and Jasmine before, but since she has clearly rejected you, you should respect her. Lucas is furious beyond control, demanded, you'd rather choose him over me, right? I shot back at him, choosing who to be with is my freedom, you have no right to interfere. I don't want to see you anymore, so just get lost. I grabbed Evan's hand, ready to leave. Suddenly, Lucas yanked us apart and threw a punch at Evan. Evan wasn't one to back down either, he lunged forward, and the two of them started wrestling. Being young, Evan had the upper hand and soon had Lucas pinned to the ground, unable to get up. Seeing Lucas no longer fighting back, Evan finally let go. I walked over to Lucas and said, Lucas, let's end this here. Don't bother me again. Evan chimed in, don't worry, Jasmine, I'll protect you from now on. He made me laugh, and I took his hand as we walked away. A month later, I finalized my divorce. Lucas vanished from my world. Evan approached me holding a bouquet of roses. Jasmine, I like you. Will you go out with me? I pretended to shake my head. His eyes darkened, and he withdrew the rose in disappointment. I took the opportunity to snatch the flower from his hand and quickly ran away. Fool, I was lying to you, I'm willing. Evan instantly became excited and chased after me. How lucky I am to have met you.